Yes, sir.
All right, welcome back to the Buzz Pod. Joining us today is a man who put together the baddest team in hockey, the main character in the best Netflix documentary ever made, Untold Crimes and Penalties. It is our pleasure to welcome AJ Galante to the Buzz Pod. Thank you for joining us, AJ.
Oh man, thank you, brother. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. It means a lot.
How you doing, man? What are you up to these days?
Man, I don't know. Every day's an adventure. I got my gym here, work with a lot of fighters, work with a lot of the kids.
I'd love to take you back, okay? So it's April 1st, 2004. The
Yeah, yeah.
UHL announces that there's a new team in Danbury, Connecticut, and the Danbury Trashers GM and president is going to be 17-year-old AJ Galante. So, like, how you feeling? 17 years old.
Stupid. Like if you read back it, and you're right, man. If you look at the press releases, it's just like it's as I get older, man, I tell you, it becomes more unbelievable to me. Like, cause like the story of the Trashers before Netflix, it was just kind of local folklore. You know what I mean? It was like even people around here didn't really believe it. You know what I mean? And it was like, as I get older, man, it's like it just felt so normal to me at the time. Like, yeah, I guess people do this. You know what I mean? But as I get older, man, I'm like, I don't know how we got away with some of the stuff we got away, but we purposely put it out on April 1st, April Fool's Day, that we were doing this. And we were just toying with people. People thought it was fake. It was April Fool's. But it seemed so legit and official that people just weren't sure, And we had a press conference in the lobby of the Danbury Arena. And dude, I was a kid. I mean, I look back now, I was stuttering. And it was just like people just didn't. I was up there talking, but people just weren't. They were just waiting for like April Fools. You know what I mean? They were just waiting, and the April Fools never came. And it was just, man. I look back now, and it's just like, it's just, I don't know what to say, man. I get asked it a lot. And I wish I could come up with like a cool answer, something eloquent. It was nuts. I can't believe we went through with it. And it's insane, man. I don't even know what to say. It was just a crazy time.
Is it just crazy to look back and see yourself in that documentary? I mean, I look back at pictures of myself when I was 17. Sometimes I'm like, man, I was such a little fool. Do you say some things in that documentary, like at that age where you're like, man, I was such a punk?
Yeah, dude. So here's the thing, right? So I tell people this. I've always been a huge wrestling fan. I still am a huge wrestling fan. Like, I'm a professional wrestling nerd. Like, I love wrestling, right? So the one thing about me I will say is I've always been a humble person. I always will be. I couldn't not be humble. My dad and my mom would kill me, but I've always been humble. But I knew that when it was going to come out that I was the GM, the president, whatever, it really didn't matter if I was like the nicest guy in the world. People were going to hate me just because of that, right?
Because you're a
I
young
I
kid.
understood. I understood, like, I'm going into the jungle here. Like, there's no way I'm gonna come out unscathed. Like, people are just not, even if they never met me, they're just not gonna like me. And I understand. I
But
mean,
I loved you from the doc. You talking about from the documentary? I loved you from the documentary
no,
because
no, no, no. Yeah,
yeah,
so no, but I mean, like, going back to '04, like, I kind of knew, like, when this became public, especially locally, even people I knew my whole life, I was gonna become like, people were just not gonna like it. So I said to myself, like, in wrestling fashion, if people are not going to like me, I might as well amplify my personality to make sure you really don't like me. You know what I mean? Like, I want to earn it at least, right? Like, if I'm
that's
going to
gonna
get
be
hit in
your
the
thing.
face,
You're the bad guy.
yeah. So if I'm going to get hit in the face with a puck, I got, like, that's going to suck, right? I want to at least lose a tooth, right? Like, I have to, like, if it's going to hurt, I want to go all out. So I knew, like, they're not going to like me, so we might as well create this bad guy wrestler, like a heel wrestler. Like, we are gonna make the first ever heel hockey team, like, that people just automatically hate. And again, I said, I'm going to amplify my personality a little bit and have a little fun with it. You know, why not? And yeah, man, I mean, when you hear a 17-year-old at a press conference before we even played a game talking about, yeah, we're going to go undefeated. We're going to set the record for penalty minutes. We're going to beat everyone up. That's going to piss people off. You know what I mean? I mean, they would piss me off. So I'm like, all right, so check, checklist number one is done. They hate me. They hate the Trashers now because of a large part because of me, because I became like a focal point of the team. So now I got to get players to buy into this image. You know what I mean? And thankfully we found the right mix of guys, man. But to answer your original question, yeah, I look back and I just you gotta laugh because even the way I dress, I was always myself. Like back in the day, it wasn't just me. We all dressed like that.
No,
So
no,
it
it
was
was
kind of like
fresh. It was fresh, man. I grew up in Miami, like
yeah,
after you, so the baggy stuff was done, but like I can see it
yeah.
was fresh, you know?
Yeah, so it was like people were just like they just couldn't understand what we were doing. And honestly, guys, we didn't know what we were doing. We just winged it. Like I tell people, like
No,
I
you knew
think
what you were
people,
doing. You knew what you were doing. The white tee under the jersey, you knew what you were doing.
yes,
It was
yeah,
in.
yeah. So no, we had fun, man. We just and it was a different time, man. You guys grew up in a different time with me, even if I'm a little older. Like this was before the time of like trying to go viral. Everyone's trying to go viral now. They're doing dumb shit. We weren't trying to be like, we didn't say to ourselves, let's be crazy because in 20 years there's gonna be a documentary about it. We didn't care about that stuff. We just were like, we were trying to make ourselves laugh, our inner circle. We're like, let's have fun with this. We weren't trying to like, it was just a different time, man. It's just like I miss those days, but at the same time, I'm just happy we came out of that stuff somewhat unscathed. It was just nuts, man.
Yeah, no, and that opening night, right? Like you pick out a fresh suit. I saw that picture of you and your dad dropping the puck. You got a fresh suit on. Uh, you know, after that game's over, I mean, what was that feeling like? I mean, now it's a real thing. You know, when something's developing, you're excited about it, but then it happens and you're like, oh,
Yeah. Well, you're 100% right. It's kind of like adrenaline, right? It's like fighting. It's like the anticipation of a fight, then the fight, then the post, the aftermath when the adrenaline dies down, and now you're starting to feel it a little bit. It was no different. It was like after the initial shock of, yeah, we're bringing a team here. Now we got to figure it out. Then it was like the ebbs and flows, the roller coaster of emotion. This is going to work. No, this isn't going to work. Yes, it's going to work. And then after the first game, you just hit it on the head. After the first game, we thankfully won. It was like, oh shit, we got 80 more games to play. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, like it wasn't like just one event. It wasn't like a boxing match, right? So now it's like, damn, we got to keep doing this. So it was a lot, man. It really was a lot of sacrifice.
yeah, I can only imagine, especially at 17 years old, just to take on the responsibility of a president and GM. One question that I'm really curious about is how did the guys treat you? Did they treat you like a GM? Did they treat you like a teammate? You know, like what was the relationships like? Or a little
Well,
brother?
again, yeah, I mean, again, I'll be honest, like I knew, like, listen, I'm sure at first everyone's going to be respectful to me. I'm the boss's son. I'm technically the GM. I knew people by default would at least be nice to me at first, but I knew I was gonna have to earn their respect. I mean, you can't just walk into like me at a teenager. Like I knew I'm not gonna just walk in the room, start throwing things, and be like, "Hey, fuck you guys. You guys suck." You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna be that kind of guy. So what I said was it was very simple, man. I was like, you know what? I got to find this balance where I want to fit in with them. I want to, how do I explain this? I didn't want them to look at me as one of the boys because at the end of the day, I still was management, right? So you can't get too connected because it's going to cloud your judgment. And at the same time, I had to find a balance of, hey, whether we like it or not, or understand it or not, technically he's management, he's a boss. But at the same time, it's AJ, it's our buddy, I remember buying at the time, what was it, like a PlayStation 3? I remember we had so many video game tournaments in the locker room and just fitting in with them. And, man, my dad would tell guys, you listen, don't treat AJ a certain way because you think, it's gonna please me. If you're not happy with him, tell me. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing, man. My dad 1,000,000% would have fired me. Like there was a time in the second year, we were coming close to the trade deadline, and I swear to God, I'm not just saying this to sound funny. I really thought my dad was gonna fire me. Like we were going on a drought, we were sucking, we were bad. Like we had such a good team, but we sucked, and something was just off. And I just knew if we didn't pull a rabbit out of our hat by the trade deadline, I swear to God, I don't think my dad would have publicly embarrassed me and like been like, "Hey, I'm firing my son." But I promise you, he would have relieved me of my duties. I think they say it nicely. I promise you, my dad would have got rid of me. So there was a time in that second season where I was feeling, dude, I was feeling some serious heat, man. It was crazy. And the guys saw that and they realized, hey, Jimmy's really for real. Like he's treating AJ like anybody else, not really his son. You know what I mean? So my dad actually helped me without trying because my dad and I got a unique relationship, but he treated me just like anyone else. And there was no favoritism, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. How would you recruit Nico Blatchman to the Danbury Trashers?
Oh, dude, that's easy. I would say to him, all right, so first, before I tell you how I would recruit Nico, so how it worked with our organization was, in baseball terms, I was like the starting pitcher. So my job was to come up with ideas, and it wasn't. By the way, it wasn't just me. We had a team around me. It wasn't. I don't want to seem like I'm taking all the credit. We would talk, and we had guys we trusted, agent wise or scouts, and I would come to my dad as a starting pitcher and say, "Hey, we need Nico." And he'd say, why? And I'd explain why. I'd say, first of all, he's going to be a poster child trasher. The crowd is going to love him. We're going to sell out of his player tees and jerseys. And not to mention, he's one of the toughest guys in the league. He's a locker room guy, blah, 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 blah. My dad's the closer. At that point, my dad would call Nico or his agent or however it works these days and say, hey, you want to come to Danbury? He'd probably get him here. And listen, I never dealt with money stuff. So allegedly, however my dad closed it, he closed it with the money and all that other stuff. I know there's rumors of duffel bags of cash. I never dealt with the duffel bags of cash or anything like that. But how I would recruit Nico is very simple. He'd walk into the Danbury Arena. We probably have section 102 there, or like the ambassadors, the main guys and girls, the characters. We'd probably have unlicensed Nico Blatchman shirts already that they'd be wearing. And he'd walk into the rink and I'd have all his highlights on the big screen and the whole 9 yards, man.
Yeah,
and I'd be like, listen, this is it, man. This is home. And yeah, there'd be a lot of different ways. Listen, nowadays it's a lot different. There's so many different ways you recruit guys and girls in athletics. So we'd have to get a little creative, but he'd feel at home real quick.
Oh,
Same with you, man.
That sounded great. Give me a
guys.
pen and paper. Oh, it sounded great.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I'll
say this
sign
guy's
right
gonna
now.
sign before the podcast ends.
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
you gotta know. Listen, you gotta know what makes. You gotta know. And me being in boxing now, I do similar recruiting for certain things and putting fights together. And you gotta really. I never wanted to fleece a guy. You know what I mean? Like even when I've made a few trades, no one really wanted to deal with us because of our attitude. But the few trades I made, I really wanted it. You always hear fans talk about trades. Who got the best of who? Who got the better of the deal? When I dealt with other GMs or teams, I always wanted to be fair. You know what I mean? And I never want to fleece a guy or sell him a book of goods. And you got to know how to sell and what makes athletes tick. You know what I mean? And we talked about, I think the word ego always has a negative like attachment to it, but we all have an ego. It's just a matter of how big it is. And you want that athlete to feel like, man, these guys, they value me. You know what I mean? And you gotta, everyone needs a little massage in here and there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not just the skill guys. So you gotta know what makes a guy tick. And yeah, once you learn that, but that's the thing, Z. You can't just do it once. Like I can't just, hooray, Nico's coming. Come on, guys, I need you here. And then we sign him, and that's like, all right, Nico, I'll see you. I'll see you in the fall. You know what I mean? Like you gotta. It's one thing to woo a guy, right? But you gotta be for real. Like you have to be authentic. Like they gotta know, like, wow, these guys really like me, and you got to do shit throughout the year too for guys. You know what I mean? It can't just be. You can't treat them like a piece of meat, man. Like you guys know, it's like I don't want to just woo a guy, yay, and then all of a sudden it's like, fuck these guys. They play for me and that's it. They got no choice. You know what I mean? And if you really care about the guys, the boys, you got to make them feel that way. You got to make them feel that way. The whole time. It can't just
Man,
be
you
a
got to get
one
a
and done
team
thing.
ASAP. You need a team in the ECHL, bro. I'll come play for you, man. Well, I think that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest problem with the ECHL and guys who are full-time ECHLers per se or have spent many years in the ECHL is you know, coaches will call you and tell you what you want to hear, but at the end of the day, this is a league that they can release you at any time, at any given moment, right? It's not even a week-to-week contract. You can be there for one day, half a day, and then you're gone.
Yeah.
So it's something where once they get you to sign, once you sign that dotted line, then sometimes that does happen often, what you just mentioned, right? Where it kind of goes away and it's like, whoa, where's all the love that I was getting before I signed? And so that's definitely something that happens in the minors a lot, I feel. More than in the NHL or in places where you have full year contracts. It's just the turnaround is so much, and so they don't really. It's not that they don't care about you, but they've done it so many times that it's like So
it's robotic. You know what it is too, and it's so tough, man, because it is a business, and I think everybody kind of understands that. But at the same time, listen, I hate the old adage, oh, it's just business, don't worry about it. Business is personal. You know what I mean? For me, at least, like if I deal with someone, it's personal. Like if you wrap your arm around me and vice versa, like in a business, like we're now brothers in a way. You know what I mean? So yes, don't get me wrong, it is business. But yeah, man, I've never been a huge fan of the revolving door thing. I get it. I mean, the East Coast League, obviously, you got American League affiliates, NHL affiliates. Funny thing, when we started the team, the Trashers in 2004, the Bridgeport Sound Tigers were just a few years in existence. And the Islanders reached out to us to be their affiliate with Bridgeport. And we said no. Because our thing was, I don't need you pulling, we don't want a revolving door. You're not going to tell us when, we're calling up Z now. You know what I mean? They we didn't want to be told you're not telling us who you're taking. Like, these are our guys. And we'd never, listen, don't get me wrong. We never hold a guy back. If we get calls, listen, one of our best skilled players the first year of the Trashers, his name is Blake Belfay. He's from Framingham, Massachusetts. He scored the first goal in Trasher history. Unbelievable player. He got a call, I think, to play in Bridgeport or Hartford in the American League. And we said, hey, we can't hold this guy back and be selfish. Listen, go do your thing, Blake. And he went. But we never wanted a direct affiliation because I'm not a big guy with the revolving door and who's in this week, who's in. I think it's, and I get it, it's business, but I was always big on, and my dad too is, you know what? You be transparent with guys. If there's something you don't like, you don't hold it in as management. And Nico's pissing me off. I'll let it go. And then something else. A lot of it's miscommunication half the time. And then it blows and, fuck it, wave them. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's just a lot of guys, it's a rat race, guys. You know how it is. Everyone's looking to get to that next step. Me, I know what it takes to get to like heights, but I don't want to be that guy. I'm good with. I'm not. Listen, I'm not trying to act like I'm settled or I'm satisfied because I always got a chip on my shoulder. I got a lot to prove, but I don't need to be the top NHL agent or the top, boxing manager with 100 guys under me. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be really good at my niche and quality over quantity. But it's a rat race. It's like politics. Everyone is, how do I get to the American League? Okay. How do I bump this coach to, now I'm with the Marlies. How do I get to here? How do I get to it's a rat race. You know what I mean? And what guys don't realize is to get to the top, you know what? A lot of times it's just being authentic and being real and trustworthy. And that's only half the time that's the only attributes you really need and just to show up. And but a lot of these guys, they try to reinvent the wheel. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, definitely.
Do you have any
I got a few questions, but Z, you got some? I got the rapid ones that I was gonna do.
Oh, you can hit them with the rapid ones?
Well, you can go. Should I?
That's good.
Well,
That's good.
well, I just have a few questions. Like they can be long answers or short, but the best Trasher fight. What was the best Trasher fight?
Oh boy. Man, that's a loaded ass question, man. God. I tell you what, I'm gonna name one that no one would know because, like in the documentary, it featured only a few characters from the team, right? You can't, in 2 seasons, you guys know how many guys on a roster. So I'm gonna go with a random one. He's a current NHL agent right now, Ryan Barnes. He played in the American League. Um, we signed him, and it was actually Military Appreciation Night against Adirondack. And this guy, Center Ice, beat the dog shit out of this guy on Adirondack. And Barnesy was a tough kid. Don't get me wrong. A lot like Uzi, he did everything. He put up points. He could fight if needed, but he wasn't known as a real serious killer, But he had a thing with this guy. I don't even want to say the other guy's name because I'm just respectful like that. He beat the dog shit out of this, and I'll never forget. The crowd went insane. Center Ice in his camo jersey, military. I don't know why that just came to my mind. I'll go with that one.
Oh
I'm gonna
man,
go
I
find
love
out.
that. Bringing something that's not in the documentary, and he's an NHL agent, and he played that way. Maybe I'll give him a call. But
Hey, listen, man, we'll make it. He's a great guy, man. Great guy for sure.
and all right, next one I got is your favorite Trasher of all time. Or is that too hard?
God.
It's like picking your
Listen,
favorite.
at the end of the day, I'll say this. In the 2 seasons we had with the dozens and dozens of players we had, I'll put it to you like this. There was literally only one player I didn't like. And I'm not gonna say his name, but I'll say I liked everyone, but I gotta go Brad Wingfield just because he's still like a brother to me. We've been in contact, after we lost the team, before all the documentary and all this other stuff. He's always been he's cut from your guys' cloth, man. He's a solid guy, man. He's coaching a big junior team this coming fall in Gibson's BC. He's gonna be a great coach, man. He's a great coach, and he's like a brother, that guy.
And I got a question that I'm sure a lot of people want to know. I think at the time it probably didn't matter because your dad had such a successful trashing business, trashing company. But was the business side of things profitable with the Trashers?
Hell no. It was not. It was, listen. Allegedly, I didn't deal with money, so I'll say that. But I'll say this. No, the first 2 seasons definitely weren't. Um, I would say though, in a perfect world, if we kept going, I think it would have turned around. What I've learned too, man, is a lot of businesses. You'll see name brand businesses, clothing lines or whatever. People don't realize at the end of the year, guys are turning in losses, So like, it's crazy to think, like, people think like if you're operating, it's got to be a profit, and it's not. You know, the Trashers, definitely the first 2 years weren't, but I think honestly, the way things were going trajectory wise, I think by year 5, we could have probably broke even or turned a profit. But again, you know, the luxury was my dad did have a very successful, waste management companies. So, you know, it wasn't like we were depending on that to live, thankfully. But no, the first 2 years were definitely, there was a lot of great pregame. You know, you should have saw some of the post-game meals these guys were eating. They were eating like kings over there. So it was definitely different, but no, that's the other thing. I mean, me and my dad, we never drew a check. Um, you know, we were just focused on making sure the guys were good, the coaches were good. You would hear horror stories, you know, guys coming over from teams like, I didn't get paid for 6 months. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And my check bounce. I mean, we never, ever, ever wanted to be a team in that situation where the guys weren't taken care of.
Wow. Yeah. Sounds like a good place to play.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, it begs the question. It begs the question. You know, how long could have lasted that way? Because one thing about money is it will go.
Yeah.
It was just like guys were eating crab legs, and I was just like, where the hell? Sometimes I'd walk in and I'm like, where did they get this stuff? You know what I mean? Dude, it was wild, man. It was they were. But listen, at the end of the day, we just, like you said, Z, you said it, man. Like, how do you attract a guy to play for you? Sometimes it's the amenities. Sometimes it's not so much the paycheck, it's taking care of a guy and knowing you're gonna be eating like in a friggin' suite in Vegas every night. I mean, it was insane, bro. It was really nuts.
What happened when it was all over and the team folded and your dad has what he liked to call a disagreement with the government? And uh, what were the next few months like for you, for AJ Galante? You know, everything just kind of came crashing down on you.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it matters what age you are, but especially as a young kid, um, you think it's gonna go on forever, right? You know what I mean? It's like we had 2 years. You know, our second year we made it to the finals. We lost in the finals, but we were finding a groove. You think you're on top of the world in a way, especially locally. You know what I mean? You just think like this train's never gonna stop. And just like that, you just wake up and it's over. And to be honest with you, we lost a team. I was just shy of my 20th birthday, so I was still a teenager. And I still had 2 more years of college to finish. I promised my mom I would finish college. I went into I hate using the word because it's like a 2024 word, but it's true. I went into a pretty deep depression, man. I just stopped watching hockey. I wanted nothing to do with hockey. My last 2 years of college, man, my dad was actually on house arrest, which he'll tell you was worse than actual prison because in the house, there's temptation, right? You think you're home. I could just get in the car and leave. I mean, those last 2 years were horrible. From '06 to '08 was tough because I had to finish my last 2 years of college. There was no Trashers. You lose that adrenaline. We talked
Yeah.
about losing an identity, right? I felt like I lost my identity. I had nothing to compete with anymore. Like I just love the hunt, man. I love to compete. I love that, and I lost it. My dad was home, which was weird because he would work. He's a workaholic too, so he was home all day. It was weird. And then yeah, man. My dad, then unfortunately had to go away in October. You want to talk about weird? He went away. He reported for prison October 15th, 2008, which was 4 years to the day of the first ever Trasher game, October 15th, 2004. I
Yeah.
don't know if the feds planned that or not, but it was pretty funny looking back if they planned it that way. But yeah, man, it was tough. It was really like I lose a longtime girlfriend. It was like everything seemed like it was falling apart. And you know what? Frankly, it was, but I've always been humble, and you go to visit my father, and you're in the visiting room, and you see people in the same situation as you, and I'm like, who am I to complain and cry about it when people are going through the same stuff, if not worse than me? So I kind of, you got to pep yourself up sometimes. You got to motivate yourself, talk yourself up, and like I said, boxing came into my life in 2011. And I honestly feel like I jumped at the opportunity because I was just missing something from losing the Trashers. And here I am, still doing the boxing thing. And now hockey's kind of in a weird way, in a weird form, came back to my life. And I don't know, man. I'm a big guy with signs like, why is hockey back in my life? So I don't know, man. I always feel like I got something to prove, a chip on my shoulder, and we'll see where it shakes out, man. My life is very random. I thrive on the chaos of it all. So we'll see what happens, man. You just never know.
But no, yeah, definitely. And in those times, I just want to ask because, like for hockey players, I'd say that's really similar to getting an injury and not being able to play because you had a project that you were working on every day and you were building towards, and then it all goes away. It's like, as a man, I think you always need a project that you're building and you're trying to grow, and that's part of the reason why we have this podcast. It's like in the off season, you're building your body, sure, but you want a project, you want something that you're building for yourself,
Yeah,
something that you can show later on, like, I've been working, I've been doing things, I haven't just been sitting on my ass type of thing. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah, and I said it, man. I think I realized, man, it's like one of my favorite movies of all time is actually The Dark Knight, the Joker movie, with Heath Ledger as the Joker. You know what I mean?
Best opening scene ever.
Listen, Heath Ledger said something, and I swear to God, that movie came out, I believe, in '08. And I was in a funk, and I swear to God, this may sound like I'm just saying it, but it's Heath Ledger said a line as the Joker in that movie. Um, And I realized, oh my God, I'm the friggin' Joker, man. I'm like the Joker because he said a line. He's with Harvey Dent, Two-Face in the hospital room, and they're struggling there. They're talking, and I don't want to botch the line, but he basically said, um, Harvey Dent said, "Oh, this was part of your plan, Joker," and Joker says, "Do I really look like I'm a guy with a plan?" And he said, "You know what I am?" He goes, I'm a guy who's chasing. He goes, I'm a dog that chases cars and tires. I wouldn't know what to do if I got the tire. I just do things. You know what I mean? And man, it's a lot like my life is like. I don't have many skills, Nico and Z. Like I just do things, and it's like I seem to do best under pressure and in chaos. And I don't know if that's a normal thing, but I just realized and have come to accept that I'm just not afraid to leap. If there's an opportunity and I can do it, I'm not embarrassed to fail. I just do shit, man. And it's definitely not the greatest business plan to tell someone, you know what I mean? Like, hey, just do things. I wouldn't, that's definitely not a piece of advice I just give loosely to like a kid coming out of college, but I just I don't know, man. I just do stuff. And I love the chase, man. I love the chase. I love being scared. I love, I told someone recently, I go with the ideas that scare me the most because there's something about that fear that keeps you going, man. Like you're in
Oh,
the jungle and it's like, dude, I get so many of the things I do, I'm scared to death over. And I don't know what I'm exactly scared of because I know I could just stop at any time, but maybe it's an ego thing. Maybe it's I don't want to, even though I'm not afraid to fail, I don't want to fail. I don't know, man, but I've never, I don't know what it is. I've just never been afraid to take the leap and
man,
whatever happens,
it
happens, you
makes
know?
it makes you feel alive, right? Those
Yeah.
You're
No.
comfortable at being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And again, talking about a Batman movie, I love all Batman movies, but I remember after Dark Knight, it's the one with Bane and he's trapped. Bane has him trapped and everyone's trying to get out of this hole they're in, and everyone's got like this bungee cord, and I remember Bruce Wayne's like, nah, take the bungee. That fear was what made him through the leap, man. It's just a chase, man, you know, and when you identify and recognize those things, it really helps you. You know what I mean? So but yeah, it's just crazy, man, you know?
Man, AJ, this has been unbelievable. I got one more thing though. Yeah, I don't know if Z has one more thing before we close out, but I want to know what your dad Jimmy's up to these days, because I was watching that podcast that you had him on. By the way, unbelievable podcast, and just man,
Thanks, man.
the way he carries himself and speaks, it's just like, you know, that's a man that's respected everywhere he goes. Just like soft spoken. I almost had to change the volume when you and Ames were talking versus when
Yeah.
he was talking. I had to turn it up a little because he's so soft spoken, you know. But one of the things he said was he was so mad about Amesbury getting suspended that he was thinking about calling his brothers. He said, I'm thinking about calling my brothers in Quebec and seeing if
Yeah.
we can start he said, for lack of better words, goon league.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I was already thinking, you know, Le Trashers de Danbury in the LNAH.
Well,
That would
I'll
be
say this.
unbelievable.
I'll say this, you know, first of all, you talk about the chase, right? My dad is 71 years old. He looks younger than me, and he works every day. He's got a piece of an oil company here, and he's on a oil truck every morning at 5 a.m. Why? I don't know, but I'm realizing we're a lot more alike than I thought. But I'm telling you, he just, that generation, man, they'll just work till they die. That's just how it's gonna be. I don't know at 71 if I'll be doing that, but who knows? I could be do something. But he's a workaholic, man. It's just but it's inspiring because I got to keep up with it somehow. Because I mean, I'm gonna be 38. I can't let the old man outwork me, right? So, but it's funny you say the Quebec because one of the things that used to piss the United Hockey League off was we refused, and we got fined for it, but we refused to play preseason games. Why? Just because we just felt like not playing preseason games, and we thought it'd be funny, and it pissed everyone off. So we would get fined. So, we always try to like find ways around things, and they'd always put rules in midway through the year or off season. They were like Danbury rules. So I remember going into the second year, they upped the fine like crazy if we didn't play preseason. So we're like, damn, they kind of got us by the balls here. We gotta play a preseason game. The fine was gonna be insane if we didn't. So what our lawyer told us was, yeah, you have to play a preseason game, but nowhere in the language does it say it has to be a UHL team. You know what I'm saying? So we were devising a plan. We were gonna have a weekend series, and it was gonna be dubbed preseason exhibition with God, I forget the team in the Quebec League, but they were crazy back then too. I want to say it was Laval or something like
Yeah,
that.
Laval, that's where I played this year.
So we were gonna play one game there, and then we're gonna have a travel day in between, and they played one game in Danbury. Now, you and I both know, especially back then, those games would have sold out. Like
Oh,
those preseason games. So we were like, listen, let's piss them off. Let's play preseason, but not against anyone in our league. They can't say anything about it legally. And we're going to make a couple bucks because the games are going to sell out at home. And we piss everyone off. It was a perfect plan. And it ended up not coming to fruition. I don't know why. We ended up playing a preseason game. I forget against who, maybe Elmira. But yeah, man, it was funny. But I always said one of my goals, with the Trashers was, I always had this vision that we were going to get kicked out of the league. I always felt like if we kept going, man, I really like had this intuition, like we're going to get kicked out of the league one day. So I always said like our backup plan should be, why can't we create an American conference of the LNAH, right? Like, let's have, they got their teams in Quebec, Montreal, wherever. Let's have an American conference, Danbury, going up north, Maine, New Hampshire, you know, and that was something that was legitimately going to be talked about. Um, who knows, man? The what if game, like what would have happened? But I always had this fear that we were going to get kicked out, and what were we going to do if we got kicked out? And I said, let's just go to the Quebec League and find a way to start a small little Northeast American conference.
Man, that's a great idea. They do have this new rule, unfortunately, where like not everyone can play. So I was watching that podcast and Amesbury said he can't play, and that's right. Like
Yeah.
he can't play. You can only play if you were born in Quebec or if you played in the QMJHL.
Even better than now is more than ever. Like, you know, you create like an American conference, man, in the Northeast, quick ride to Quebec, and fills a lot of slots, man. But who knows, man? Like I said, see, I don't like talking to guys like you because my mind starts going. I start wanting to do this shit. So I'm just gonna say, who knows? We'll see what happens.
Oh man, well, thank you so much. I mean, this is almost 2 hours of just shooting it with you, man. This has been unbelievable. And we just can't thank you enough for coming on, man. And just, yeah, thank you, AJ. This has been awesome.
No, I can't thank you guys enough, man. I really respect what you guys are doing. And hey, Nico, man, I saw that footage of what you did to that Timmy Kent kid a few years ago at SoFlo. And I think he's coming for your ass this summer. So you better keep that head on a swivel.